So I was watching one of Lou Fetter's videos about social force feeding, and this is like totally a critical issue that many of us face at any point in the journey, but especially when it's like outwardly apparent that that you may be suffering from an ED. People tend to push food a lot, and even for non-eating disordered individuals, food is such a central element to socialization that anybody who has any dietary restrictions really has to deal with some element of awkwardness. In the case of eating disorders, it's even more sensitive because it's not a socially acceptable reason, which is really sad and only compounds our insecurity about stuff. Let's say somebody is a celiac patient and is allergic to gluten and can't have, the majority of items at some outing, but they will be getting looks at, people will look at them, ask them, why aren't you eating the same things? Why are you only nibbling on such and such? It's really weird, and I've observed this phenomenon on healthy people too. You ever just people watch in a social situation, see how people's behaviors toward food are? There's definitely a lot of foisting of food upon other people, and I think there's several reasons for that. I think people feel more comfortable if other people are doing the same thing they are. But yeah, people are kind of openly hostile, dismissive, or critical of people who are on diets, people who have a dietary restriction they don't understand. Anybody who sticks out and is doing things contrary to the norm, it tends to be an issue socially. And that is really, really upsetting because people with EDs or other medical conditions where social situations are stressful / exhausting / challenging anyway, throwing in the element of you're going to be scrutinized for what's on your plate, it's too much. If you're a loved one or somebody with an ED or some other special dietary need, try and support them and don't push, because food pushing often escalates stress, and in the context of eating disorders can make somebody even more frightened to eat, and they may eat even less than they were able to do on their own. So I think neutral support is good, not focusing so much on what they're eating, and let them be able to make the choice. And then it's kind of complicated though, because the other side is, what if somebody does need encouragement to eat? It's a fine line, it's very delicate, and I think it's individual for everyone, but my kind of default is always asking people, how may I best support you? Is it better for me to say anything? Is it better for me not to say anything? Really communicating and, engaging dialogue on this is your number one greatest strength. Talking about it beforehand will assuage so much stress about it. Your loved ones can be a buffer between you and society at large, if you're going to an event with someone. But yeah, food pushers, it's a real problem. I read stories about this all the time on my website where it's like, there was a party at work and they were having cake in the break room, and if you don't go, you're weird, or going to lunch, if you bring your own food, don't eat what everyone else is, ooh, you're weird. And then rumors get started, people start talking, and it's just all a bunch of bullcrap. And it's true, people do that. So whether or not you have an ED, I don't care who you are, if you see this, don't push food. And if you see, I try and advocate for other people too. If I'm out and I see people picking on, whispering about, pointing at, or discussing somebody else's eating habits if they're different, you can be a voice and say, hey, they might have some issue you don't know about. How about not being so critical and dismissive, So yeah, there's a ton of issues. I'd love to hear all your thoughts on this too, you guys. Have you experienced food pushing? How have you dealt with it? What do you think some good strategies can be? What advice would you give other people? For me, I really do think the number one thing is using your voice and communicating. If somebody's pushing, you can smile and say no thank you. And if they keep pushing, you know, you can just say, like, I already said no, and please respect my choice, you know. Um, Alternatively, you can, but you know, you could smile and say no thank you as many times as you have to. Nobody can make you do something you're not comfortable doing. And just remember, even if you have to calm yourself in your mind, nobody can force you to eat. Nobody's gonna strap you down in a chair and shove cake down your throat in a social setting. Like, it is okay to say no, and these people are wrong, and you can even point it out to them, like, hey, you know, what you're doing is really inappropriate, you know. I'm doing my best here. I'm dealing with some issues, and get out of my damn face. Like, everybody's different how you approach it, but I do think that communication is the best way. And maybe having somebody to go with, maybe there's a coworker that you feel you can talk to, who you could say, hey, you know, I'm kind of struggling right now. Can you just, like, be a support to me right now? So it's not just me against the world type thing with food. So those are just, you know, I've been in this situation. I tend to just smile and say no thank you, or I say, really, like, I would appreciate it if you would stop commenting. It's not cool. Or I'll say, you know, I have medical problems that affect my ability to eat, which is fine. You can just say that. You don't have to even have to say you have an eating disorder. You have dietary restrictions for medical reasons, period. And if people want to delve, really, it's none of their business, and you can just say, I'd prefer not to talk about it further. So self advocate, speak out, and don't be afraid to, you know, if people are going to push you to eat, you don't have to do it, you know. Um, and I think awareness needs to be raised that um, doing this in society, like it happens everywhere, it's really not a good thing. And if people are insecure about what they're eating, they need reinforcement, and that's their issue, not ours. So don't be ashamed to do, you know, what you are comfortable doing. Eat how much you are comfortable eating, period. And if people are going to judge, too damn bad. You're doing the best you can. That's all anybody can ask of you. Alright, guys, so share your thoughts with me. Much love to you. Be well, precious ones. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.